Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the Dixie Fire Incident Update. My name is Antonio Negretti. I'm one of the public information officers assigned to the incident. This evening, you will be hearing from various experts in their field, updating you on recent evacuations, fire activity, and weather. If you have any questions for our speakers, please submit them in the comments section below. First, let me bring you the latest numbers regarding the Dixie Fire. The Dixie Fire is currently at 759,218 acres with 48% containment. There are currently 4,836 personnel assigned to the incident. I'd now like to introduce you to our first speaker. Please welcome Incident Meteorologist Derek Williams.
Good evening. We've had some light winds in the last several days. That pattern will change beginning tomorrow with the resurgence of southwest winds in late morning and early afternoon, gusting to around 25 miles an hour on the ridgetops. That's just a precursor of the events to come in the next couple of days. We do have a fire weather watch out for Monday and Tuesday. And we're even seeing some conditions that could be challenging as early as Sunday night in some of the higher elevation areas of the fire. So these winds are coming in, they are increasing, and they'll increase through Monday. So a fire weather watch is a precursor to a red flag warning. What is a red flag warning? It's conditions that could challenge existing fire lines and existing control lines, and can contribute to large fire growth. So we are concerned with those conditions coming up Monday and Tuesday. Winds on Monday from the southwest at 20, maybe 25 miles an hour sustained with gusts to close to 40 miles an hour are expected on the ridgetop. So very gusty on that day, and the atmosphere is primed. We have very dry air mass in place. We're seeing single digits in the afternoon, 9–10%, that's very low. And another factor is the overnight humidity recoveries. Usually they get up to 50 or 60%, but the last couple of days they've only been getting up to around 30%. So dry through the day and dry through the night with those elevated winds for the next several days. As we get into Wednesday, things calm down just a little bit as those winds abate, but still elevated fire weather conditions with the extremely dry air mass we have in place. Again, winds from the southwest during the day. And as we get into late in the week, those winds do calm down just a little bit. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, that was our incident meteorologist, Derek Williams. Our next speaker tonight is going to be our fire behavior analyst from California Incident Management Team 1, Chief Don Watt.
Good evening. So we had another good day of smoke laying over the area, and the good thing about that is it kind of slows down the fire activity. The unfortunate part is with the winds, as I was talking about, that's going to start clearing out that smoke. So the good news for the citizens around the fire, you'll probably start seeing some clear air. The smoke will scour out. However, you will start seeing some fire activity increase tomorrow. That wind will allow the fire to grow a little bit. We have some areas that have some lighter fuels, especially on this north side in some of the old fire scars. So hopefully the intensity will not be as bad as it has been when it's in the timber. We do have some open stands in this area. We will see that activity increase, and you'll probably see a column start to develop tomorrow as interior islands start to burn out, and we do see that increased activity. That will probably go through the next couple of days with a red flag warning, and the general pattern, what we're looking for, would be generally spreading to that northeast, away from the communities down in the valley, and kind of more out into the forest up to the northeast. So that's what we're watching for the next couple of days.
Thank you, Chief Watt. Our next speaker we have for you tonight from the West Zone, the Operations Section Chief for CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 1, Chief Mike Wink.
Good evening. I'm going to go ahead and talk about current situation as we go around the west zone through the branches and the areas, and I'll give you a little bit of forecasting. So here we're going to start in branch 9 west of the Warner Valley. So continued, no change in the operations there, looking for any hot spots, smoldering materials, slow ground creeping fire, anything like that. Very low IR signature, infrared signature in that area, but we do have resources in there that continue to patrol that fire's edge, strengthen those lines, and get that stuff mopped up. As we continue just north into branch 13, that's where we enter the national park. We do have resources in there working along Highway 89. We do have been working with the park. We do have masticators, mechanicalized equipment, and working in the park, as well as we have gone through the process to use retardant in some areas of the park. So those things are ongoing there in the park. As soon as we get outside the park, back into the forest, those efforts, no change in those efforts as well. We come here down off of West Prospect Mountain into the lava beds, come around that mid-slope road down to Rail Canyon. Those efforts to strengthen those control lines continue there below Old Station, as well as we continue to put secondary and contingency line and go around all the values at risk as much as possible up there in that Old Station area. As we cross the county line over into Lassen County, the efforts along the top edge there that come down south towards the wilderness, that fire's edge had some spot fires in there yesterday, picked those up with the aircraft and the ground resources at scene. So no change, that's holding all day today, and they continue to mop up and strengthen those lines down to the wilderness. As we get below the wilderness and we go to the east, there is some heat signatures in there. We have ground resources. We're able to have rotary wing helicopters in there today, supporting those efforts as we continue to try to get all that heat off the edge of that line based on the weather that's coming in. Obviously that's a concern. Once we leave that area that heads off to the east and we go south towards Westwood, no change. Tactical patrol looking for hot spots all along Highway 36 until we get to the Meadow area. Here in this meadow, a little bit of heat and some timber on this side of the meadow, a little bit of still finding some hot spots along that line there off of 36, so the efforts continue in there, but no significant change. Down here in the Janesville branch, Janesville grade, continue to mop up and strengthen those lines, and today's activity working off of the Janesville branch, heading down this way to connect the lines from the Beckworth fire that was just some 2 months ago now. So that's current situation. Now future. You just heard the fire behavior analyst and the incident meteorologist talk about some winds change stuff. That could bring additional fire growth in areas of the fire where we have fire's edge that has some heat. Even though we're in there mopping it up, we have resources. So that southwest wind will come from the southwest and go to the northeast, and that is definitely going to cause some concern. We're going to be looking at this Lassen side over here, as well as this piece in the park, having some increased activity that's influenced by that wind, as well as we'll be working collaboratively and cooperatively with our East Zone partners on this piece down here that wind could bring some fire spread back this way. We're making plans, we're putting in dozer lines, we're moving resources around, and then we're going to be watching this Highway 395 corridor. That normally has some heavily windy conditions. It will be amplified by these fire weather watch conditions, just like it did on historical fires in the past where we've had first responders injured, or in Janesville when we had extreme erratic behavior when it came off of there a couple weeks ago, or back in the Beckworth complex when it came into Doyle. So we are expecting the possibility of extreme and erratic fire behavior. We'll have a plan for that. We'll be ready. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Chief Wink, for that great information. We will now be presenting a video for you for an update from the East Zone featuring Chief Chad Cook.
Good morning, I'm Chad Cook, Operations Section Chief with California Incident Management Team 1, coming to you from the Dixie fire on Saturday morning to give you an operational update on what's going on. So I'll focus mostly again. I'll kind of go around the map. If you're just joining us for the first time on how we do this, we have the fire is basically zoned in two zones. We have the west zone, which is run up out of Susanville area, and we have the east zone that's being run out of Quincy. So east of both of these zones work in concert with each other. We are definitely coordinated on how we share resources and the way we fight the fire on both fronts. So with that, we have a zone line, which is this big yellow line that runs right down through the middle of the fire, basically. And again, we share resources close to that zone line or things that are, I guess, territorial in nature between CAL FIRE and the U.S. Forest Service, but we look at this incident as one. So let's start up here on the extreme kind of northwest corner of the incident, I should say. And this is where that Antelope Lake area is and where the spot that came out of Antelope Lake towards Janesville. This continues to hold. There are no issues with this area out here. We still have a high presence of firefighters on both flanks of the fire, protecting the communities of Janesville and Milford. All of this work, like I said, continues to patrol, continues to hold, continue to mop up all around the fire perimeter because, as you could tell, this is separated from the main fire. But in between it is the Walker Fire Scar. In the Wilson Valley area, out to, I'll call it Fruit Growers Boulevard, out to the Sheep Fire Scar, this continues to look good. You'll still see a presence of firefighters in here. In and around the cabins, the houses that are in here, and this should be black lined up probably by end of day today or tomorrow. Same thing that's happening over here between Dyer Mountain and what we'll call Westwood and Clear Branch and near Mountain Meadows Reservoir. This again just has some little pockets of heat that continues all the way down past that communication site and in towards the Canyon Dam area, where we continue to have a contingent of firefighters and engines that are patrolling that to make sure that there's no escape or no additional damage done to structures in and around the area. So that's kind of a picture of what's going on. As you come down the Taylorsville Road through the Walker Fire Scar from Antelope Lake, you'll see this big open edge of fire here. This continues to not move in the fire scar. It's been a topic of conversation with people going, what's going on? This continues not to move. There is virtually no fuel left in this fire scar other than snags. And so that's exactly what it does. It continues to consume some of the stuff on the forest floor. As you dive down into the Genesee Valley, we still have a high presence. Fire came through here several days ago. We continue to be in and around all the homes in the valley, and that is all the way out to Taylorsville. So as you come down into Genesee Valley on the Taylorsville Road, you have the Beckworth Road, you have the two different canyons of Grizzly Creek that are into here, and then you also have the area where with this big Grizzly Ridge that's up above all this, and it funnels right down into Taylorsville. This is looking good all around this, into the Indian Valley area, and all the way up into this canyon, back up into here on North Arm Road, up towards Diamond Mountain Road. Large presence of firefighters in here, patrol, mopping up, and backhauling equipment now that this is starting to cool down below Mount Jura. Taylorsville continues to have a high presence of firefighters. We're going to keep our Type 1 engines, our OES partners that are in here, working with the volunteer fire departments that are around the valley with, again, the water supply and the presence of firefighters in this town until the threat has completely diminished. Where does the threat to Taylorsville still lie? It was one of the questions we have, and it's this west flank of the Grizzly spot. Still has the potential to come out to the west. This is black over here from the Fly Fire. Up on Mount Huff, so it still can come this way and hit black, which is a good buffer for us from it moving back kind of southwest, but it still has the ability to come towards Taylorsville, so we still are prepping and building lines above the city, above the town side of Taylorsville to make sure that fire doesn't come back into it. That is taking place. Up on Grizzly Ridge, we continue our efforts on Grizzly Ridge, making sure the fire doesn't come over. It has not come over the ridge. A few spots yesterday, but very small in nature, we were able to pick up, and we continue to monitor this ridge system to keep steering the fire out to a position where we can turn it back towards the Walker Fire Scar. You can see we have lines in place from the communities of Quincy as a backup line. We have another backup line above Spring Garden and then another one above Greenhorn. We have another backup line that is above Kronberg, and we have multiple lines out here in the event that fire were to spread south and east. With that, out in this area, we are continuing to build line out towards the Walker Fire Scar. Activity definitely picked up on these fires yesterday. Although we're under an inversion, although we had a big lid on this, fire did grow, and these two grew together yesterday down here in this valley. So where the fire did grow together, the fire front is pretty wide now between these two. Once again, this has the ability to continue to march on and come around this fire scar with all of our modeling and predictions. So again, we are moving equipment to build line to stop this from happening and find a spot where we can tie it back towards Davis Lake and around to Grizzly Ridge. So strategic plan, I just want to make sure everyone is aware, our strategic plan is to continue on Grizzly Ridge and keep that fire north of Grizzly Ridge. Our plan is to steer it back up into the Walker Fire Scar. These lines that we're building give us different timelines of opportunity based upon rates of spread of the fire and what it is moving at. So you need time. We're always constantly trying to line up how much time does it take to build the line with the resources that we have. Those resources that we have, we're competing with other fires. So all the other fires in the state need the same things we need. So we're given a certain amount of resources and when we order to get the job done. And we are using those resources effectively, but trying to time it right that we can do this and complete the mission. So with that, that is the overall strategic plan while making sure that these communities are prepared in the event that we have a wind change, a spot fire, the fire moves in a different direction. If we have to deal with that, we're making sure these communities are prepared. So Davis Lake to the fire, we're showing that it is about 7 miles away from the fire right now. So it just gives you an idea how far it is from Davis Lake to the fire. That's what's going on right there. Everything on the backside of the fire where we continue to work on severity, we continue to look at the damages that were caused by the fire and fighting the fire, they're ongoing. We still have a large presence of resources in and around the perimeter of the fire, continue to monitor to make sure that nothing escapes the containment lines. With that, that's an overall operational update on what's going on today. I do want to mention this. Today is Team 1's last operational day. And we're going to be transitioning with the Great Basin Incident Management Team 1 that will come in and they'll basically take over the incident at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Again, our team came in, we had several fire fronts that needed to be managed, and basically developed strategic plans to make that happen. We've tried to work with the communities and we've appreciated the support of all the people in the community out there and all the, I guess you could say, collaboration with all the folks that are out there. And with that, you have a great team that's coming in, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve you guys. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Once again, that was Chief Chad Cook from the East Zone. We will now hear from the agency representative for the United States Forest Service, Chief Matt Rao.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us again tonight. We sure appreciate your attendance and hope these are helpful for you. You know, one of the watch out situations as leadership on incidents like this is times of transition. And you just heard from the East Zone, we're going through a transition over there. We just finished our own transition here on the West Zone. I can speak for this side as we moved from CAL FIRE Team 3 into Team 1, that the transition was seamless. On our last update 2 nights ago, we talked about that and the great job that the incoming team has done shadowing with the outgoing Team 3. That resulted in no loss of operational capability, no loss of momentum as we move forward into the past couple of days. You heard from Operations Section Chief Wink that we've made great progress over the past couple of days since our last update, but there is still a tremendous amount of work to do. I couldn't be prouder, though, of the collaboration between all of the federal agencies and with CAL FIRE and all of our partners. Again, I mentioned 2 nights ago, this is certainly an incident that takes many, many partners and a very dedicated effort to stay focused on meeting our objectives. And we're just still in the infancy. I mean, we've been managing this incident now for over 40 days, and you heard on the updates earlier, we still have over 4,800 people assigned to the incident. Well, that sounds like a lot of people. It's an incredibly large chunk of land, and there's an incredibly large amount of work to be done. One of the issues we're dealing with right now as incident management teams and as land management agencies here in California specifically is just the sheer amount of fires that are on the landscape. So competition for resources is high. And again, while 4,800 people sound like a lot, when you spread that over the landscape and look at the work that needs to be done, it doesn't equate to a tremendous amount of force for each activity on the land. So we're certainly holding our own, but there's a lot of work to do. And as we begin to make success on the suppression efforts, we're beginning to look at the suppression repair and then further downstream work that needs to be done to secure compromised soils and road systems and infrastructure, and there's just a tremendous amount left to do. So I applaud all the efforts to get us to this date. I thank the incoming team over here on the west side, and I know the Great Basin team on the east side is going to do a fantastic job, and we'll work through those transitions in a seamless way, just how we have over here as well. So I applaud everybody's diligent efforts, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you, Chief Rao. Our final speaker for the West Zone Incident Management Team 1, Incident Commander George Wong.
Good evening, everyone. My name is George Wong. I serve as a Deputy Incident Commander for CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 1, as well as Unified Incident Commander for the Forest Service. Let's go with numbers right now. The Dixie Fire is currently over 759,000 acres. Currently, we have 378 fire engines, 161 dozers, 68 hand crews, 192 water tenders, 19 helicopters, and numerous fixed-wing aircraft all throughout the fire. That roughly equals to about one firefighter per 304 acres. That was stated the other night from Chief Packwood. Also, take it on to another perspective, because I know that there's a lot of questions that constantly come up for percentages, et cetera, for the map. So let's just take in consideration that 1% on this map for 759,000 acres is roughly 7.6 miles of line. So for our firefighters to be on the ground to put out fire to make sure that line is blackened, for every 1% is about 7.5 miles. So please understand that this is rough terrain, and firefighters are doing everything we can. We are aware of the weather changes coming up in the next couple of days. Our operations, both zones, we are working diligently to make sure that we prepare for this firefight if and when the weather arises, and we're doing everything we can to address both zones. Please know that. Additionally, as from the day one till now, the National Guard has been a key component for us. They've been assisting us, and they've been a key component for having air and ground resources to support us, and I want to acknowledge that. And additionally, please know the key word for tonight is collaboration. We have been working collaboratively with the Sheriff's Office, all local government fire agencies, private agencies, etc. We are doing everything we can to work together as a team to make sure that we suppress the Dixie Fire. And lastly, on behalf of both zones, East and West, we thank you for your patience. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Chief Wong. Most of the questions tonight were answered during the presentation from the speakers. We'll now move on to the period of answering a few of those outstanding questions. We'd like to bring back up to the MAP Operations Section Chief for the West Zone, Chief Mike Wink.
I had two questions this evening. One was to just mention where the location of Mill Creek area is. So the Mill Creek area is over here in Branch 9. That's over here west of the Warner Valley in the mineral area. So the update for the Mill Creek area is the same as for Branch 9. They continue to no new fire growth, no additional values at risk have been damaged or destroyed. They still look at mopping up and patrol and looking for hot spots all in that area. So that's good news. The second question was many questions about the old station, Hat Creek, Big Springs area, that general area. So once again, that is going to be up in Branch 13, what we call up here the Shasta sector. And how far away is that? The fire is approximately 4 to 5 miles, depending on what part of the fire and which of those three areas you're referencing. So you can find those maps online at all of our social media locations. You can look at that stuff. Also know that there are lava flows, geographical barriers, secondary line, and contingency lines between the fire's edge and those general areas that were spoken of, as well as point protection around some of that stuff that they've been working on for the last week or so. So those are the two questions we had for this evening. Thank you.
We would like to thank all the presenters this evening for the information which they presented tonight. If you would like to find the evacuation maps for Plumas, Lassen, and Butte counties, you may find those listed on their respective websites. Incident updates will be provided at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. We will continue to provide the Facebook and YouTube Dixie incident update every other evening. Our next meeting will be Monday, August 30th, 2021. The live stream may be found on the CAL FIRE Lassen Modoc Facebook page, the Plumas National Facebook page, or the Lassen National Forest Facebook page. In the meantime, you may go to InciWeb and search under the Dixie incident for the latest information. You may also go to the CAL FIRE homepage at www.fire.ca.gov. Please continue to follow media platforms for the Lassen National Forest, Plumas National Forest, and CAL FIRE LMU. At the end of this presentation, we will have for you on screen QR codes which will link you to our live presentations and email updates. And finally, earlier today, a town meeting was held in the city of Old Station. Approximately 10 minutes after the conclusion of this presentation, we will put that on our Facebook page. We appreciate your time this evening. Thank you for joining us.